Ladies, gentlemen, fellow Mandalorians out there, welcome to my Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 4, Chapter 20, the Foundling breakdown, recap, and of course, review. So, a very short episode of The Mandalorian today. Bo-Katan spent some more time with Mando's covert. That turned into a bit of a side adventure. We got a flashback of which we were expecting to Order 66 with a pretty interesting cameo there. And yeah, I just feel like where we're at right now, I'm just really looking forward to getting to like that next bit, of which I do feel like the very last scene in this episode addressed that kind of, okay, this seems to be where we're going. So let's get into that. Let me know what you think, of course, down in the comments below. And do help me out with these Mandalorian videos and reviews by leaving a like. It really helps out a ton. You guys have been helping so much every week. So a like would be very much so appreciated. And of course, subscribe for more videos just like this. So right at the beginning, we have Bo-Katan observing the Mandalorians training, and we have Grogu on the beach just chilling by himself, messing around with some crabs, but Din, being Din, is just like, nope, right, okay, it's finally time to get you into a little bit of training. He submits him for a challenge, and they're just like, he's too young. Like, what are you doing? He's like, well, I'm his ward, proceed. And I kind of felt bad for Grogu in this moment, because he's like, well, what if I don't want to do this? Like, well, I'm kind of not ready. He kept looking at Dad, and it's just like, yeah. And even the kid was just like, he's too small. He doesn't even speak. Why doesn't he wear a helmet? So this challenge was based off of landing 3 darts, kind of little paintballs, if you will, and then you win the challenge. So Grogu Foundling versus Paz Vizsla's Foundling, of which we found out later on in the episode is actually his son. I also liked Bo-Katan's kind of little mother mode here as well, saying, no, don't worry, my dad was the same way. He's just proud of you. Because Grogu, of course, is being thrown in the deep end here. And he just gets shot a couple of times, but then Djarin encourages him, and he does a Jedi flip or two, lands back, and then does a little triple shot and wins the challenge. Although when he flipped back, I do argue that Paz Vizsla's Foundling kid could have probably, you know, taken a shot because there was a little bit of a pause there. But either way, Grogu won the challenge. And it is quite cool seeing him get a mini little dark gauntlet there. And then obviously what happens later on in the episode, it really makes you think, where could this actually go in the future in terms of Grogu design if The Mandalorian continues on for seasons and seasons. So after getting completely wrecked by Grogu, we have Paz Vizsla's kid wander off to the side of the beach, and he gets swooped up by a borderline freaking dragon. I'm not gonna even attempt to remember the name of this Star Wars beast, but that's when it starts flying away. We have the Mandalorians try and go after the beast, but unfortunately a few of them are low on fuel. You know, a part of me, the nitpicky side, is kind of like, since they mentioned this has happened several times before to Foundlings, I was kind of like, why are you still here in this cave? Is there not another cave that you could find on this whole planet? Especially given the fact that there was a freaking sea Jurassic Park beast here as well. I guess they're stubborn. They're a stubborn people, so they don't want to move. They want other creatures and beasts to move, even if it puts their Foundlings at risk. And if anything, to be honest, when Foundlings get swept up like this, I suppose it gives them a chance to collaborate together and prove their worth. But of course, with Paz Vizsla's child in danger, we have Bo-Katan track where the nest is, and then they muster up a hunting party to go on a bit of a rescue mission. But before we continue that, and I've still got quite a few things to say about that little hunting mission story, we spent some time with the Armorer and Grogu. And I love the little scurrying along that Grogu did all the way into the Armorer's forge. Now in this scene, we have the Armorer cooking something up, and she's saying these words of wisdom, such as the forge is the heart of Mandalorian culture. And as Grogu is watching all of this go down, hearing the clinks of the forge, that's when he's got some flashbacks being triggered, and that is of course what we've been expecting ever since the trailer, to that of Order 66. Like, how did Grogu escape the Jedi Temple? So in this moment, we're cast back to that scene from the trailer where we see all the Jedis in front of him. We see the Jedi Temple doors attempted to be broke into. I remember when a lot of people were saying that would be a lightsaber, but I was also saying we have seen, you know, clones and other people blast through doors in a similar way, and lo and behold, it was just clone troopers. And when I say was just, I just mean with obviously people getting carried away with theories, which I don't blame people for. Like, speculation is really fun. They thought it could be Anakin Skywalker himself, and I did think there was some credence to that idea because it's rumored that Hayden Christensen has done filming for Ahsoka, so maybe somewhere around that time he could have stepped in for like a quick scene. A lot of the Jedi get overwhelmed by clone troopers, but Grogu just makes it into the elevator, and by the time he gets to the bottom and the door pops open, we have none other than Kelleran Beck saying, "Everything's gonna be alright, kid." Now, this was really cool because if you didn't know already, this is Ahmed Best, the very man who played Jaja Binks. And the wholesome thing about this is you can see it as like a winning moment for him because he gets a cool scene in Order 66, and given how much he went through after the backlash of playing Jar Jar Binks, and if you don't know about that, he went through a very, very extreme time of his mental health. So to see him, come back, have this scene, be the very one to escort Grogu away from Coruscant in the midst of all this freaking Jedi murder, it is a really cool thing for him. At the same time, I can imagine this might be a situation for some fans. I'm not grouping everyone together. I just wanted to address this, that, given that scene in the trailer, they were hiding who could be behind that door, that some people, as a result of that theory crafting, speculation, might get expectations to a point of expecting it to be Anakin or someone like somehow Mace Windu comes in with half an arm and all that kind of stuff. And they might be disappointed as a result, just in terms of it's not who they thought it was going to be. So sometimes certain fans do that thing where they're like, oh, since it's not who I thought it was going to be, that was terrible. But do you know what I mean? I hope that doesn't happen so much. But regardless, let me know what you thought of Ahmed Best returning in Star Wars. And not only that, his character is a Jedi Master who oversaw Padawans as they went through their Jedi trials. He was a character that was actually specifically created for the Star Wars Jedi Temple Challenge children's game show, which I think released around the summer of 2020. So we see Kelleran Beck dual-wield lightsabers, somewhat evade the clones getting on that speeder. And I don't know if anyone else noticed this in this scene, and this may be a bit nitpicky, but I felt like the volume tech or the background of Coruscant at times when he was dual-wielding and a couple of other scenes, it just felt like it had that kind of almost, okay, that is definitely a CG backdrop to the scene, and you can see where they would be standing on the green screen. I felt like the Kenobi series suffered from this a bit at times. And again, I'm not saying I didn't really enjoy this scene, it's just critically to me, I felt like the visual effects at times in the escape were a bit questionable, but it was also just really fun seeing him evade clone wave after clone wave after clone wave. Also just obviously seeing Coruscant again, also seeing the same location as to where we saw Dr. Pershing in the previous episode, but obviously quite a few years earlier. Eventually we get to see the friends of whom he was teasing to Grogu, and it seems to be some Naboo security of whom have that H-type Nubian ship, and again a bunch of clones arrive. The Naboo security sacrifice their lives, and they managed to get away just in time and jump to hyperspace, and that was the end of that. And so we cut back to the armor, and she has forged Grogu this little rondu with the Mudhorn logo on it and places it on his Beskar steel shirt, if you will, which, to be honest, probably enough to reflect blaster bolts in of itself. But now he's got a little freaking rondel there as well, and it just kind of made me think, going back to the comment of earlier, why doesn't he have a helmet? When eventually he does get that helmet, what is it going to look like? Because he's got long ears, so are they going to have those ears poke out of the helmet? But could that be counterproductive, because an ear could just get shot off? Or are they going to be kind of stuffed in the helmet? But I imagine that'd be potentially painful. And also, if he wore a helmet, as per the creed, you can't take it off. So would that subtract from the character of Grogu, or would they just include more scenes between Din and Grogu having their dinner and, they take their helmets off? But then again, no, that would technically break the creed, because they would be seeing each other's face. And just because they're in the same clan, I don't think you're allowed to do that. I don't know. That this could be a long, long ways off. But as I said earlier, with the darts being equipped on his wrist, it is cool seeing Grogu get more into the Mandalorian way of things. As we get towards the end of the episode, we go back to Bo-Katan and Mando and the other Mandalorians trying to save Paz Vizsla's son. They're like, we're gonna sleep tonight, have our dinner, and then we'll move at first light. Fair enough, it's a part of the plan, but I just kept thinking, how do you know that this dragony bird hasn't devoured Paz Vizsla's kid by now. Do you know what I mean? Like, isn't it lucky that that didn't happen? So either way, we have Bo-Katan stay by the fire because she's the leader of the war party, and she finally takes her helmet off. It would have been pretty funny if they did a joke like, oh god, like, and have a really sweaty face. But regardless, they start climbing up the rocks, which I thought was pretty cool because it shows like this versatility to Mandalorians. They're not just relying on flying up. They can do, I mean, I suppose they did have grapple hooks, but I was thinking Paz Vizsla has a massive amount of armor. I mean, they all do, which must weigh quite a bit. But he has a freaking like chain gun like linked to his backpack. And I was like, God, imagine how hard that would be to climb up the side of that cliff. And when they get to the nest, this is what I mean about convenience. So the mama freaking bird dragon thing appears when we had those little chicks there already. But of course, like, she's only just, kind of like a bird does, throwing up the food for the little baby chicks to eat, the foundling. Only there and then. Like, well, why didn't this happen sooner? Why didn't it happen the night before? Very lucky that they get there just in time for when she is just about to feed the kids. Again, I know people can't stand criticism like this, but it is very true. This is where stuff gets very, very crazy. I guess they refueled their jetpacks because they go in pursuit since the mama bear dragon thing gets very spooked. We have Bo-Katan get completely slapped, but she recovers. We have Paz Vizsla get slapped as well. He doesn't recover so much. Overall, I really enjoyed the group effort of the Mandalorians taking on this bird dragon thing and saving the foundling. Mando frees the kid, about to fall into the little sea, but luckily he gets him just in time. But Mama Bear lands in there, and there's a bit of a Jurassic Park-esque moment where another sea creature completely wrecks Mama, and I kind of felt bad for the chicks. But at the same time, they return back to the covert with the 3 chicks, and what's really cool about that is that they can train them and they're going to grow, and you can imagine now Mandalorians actually taming these beasts and riding them in the future. But that could be quite a while away because I'm guessing it takes a while for them to grow to Mama Bear's size. Now, as I get to this final scene with Bo-Katan and the Armorer, I feel like this episode, as much as, you know, it's still enjoyable, it hasn't really, you know, furthered the story in a massive way. And, you know, we had the last episode, you know, with Dr. Pershing and all. While I really enjoyed that, you know, that could be building to Moff Gideon, who knows. I feel like, considering we're 4 episodes in, we're halfway into this season, I don't feel like we have a true sense of, like, where things are really going. Sure, there's some obvious aspects to what fans are theorizing. So, you know, going back to Mandalore, taming the mythosaur, what's going to go on there, Mandalorian civil wars, or Mandalorians uniting together. Like, we know there's a sense of that, but I do feel like quite a bit of this season, whilst we've had a lot of entertainment, we have been sidelining a few times. I'm not going to call it like proper filler or anything like that, but I just feel like we're kind of cooking some appetizers consistently, and it feels like, you know, the server or the waitress bringing in the main course, and we get like a bite on our fork, but then they take it away again. Do you know what I mean? I feel like we really need to catapult into what the big thing is coming this season, next episode. And luckily, I do feel like, I hope so, the end of this episode is once again saying, oh, don't worry, we're getting there. And that's because the Armorer brought Bo-Katan into the cave. She's in need of repair, so she cooks her up a new piece of armor, asks her if she wants the signet of the Night Owl on there. But Bo-Katan's just looking at the mythosaur skull, just like, oh, yes. And I know people are just saying to me every week, you're just looking for her to be evil in it. No, I'm not. I'm just saying that I do feel like she has some plans. And I'm not saying they're sinister. I just feel like she has I don't know if I want to call it agenda, but some kind of idea that she, and the whole idea behind her for a while is that she's wanted to become the leader, right? She wanted the Darksaber, we can't deny that. And I don't think those ambitions have completely disappeared, especially since she's seen the mythosaur on Mandalore. So in this moment, we further that storyline with her saying to the Armorer, would it be acceptable to wear one pauldron of the Night Owl, but with another of the mythosaur? And she's like, yeah, that's fine. You know, like, every Mandalorian can have the mythosaur one. But she's like, yeah, but like, what if I've actually seen one? The Armorer is just like, well, I would say you're very lucky. That's like a cool vision to have. And she's like, no, but a real one. And again, the Armorer is just like, well, you know, the walking the way of the Mandalore, you'll see many things. And I don't know if the armor like truly believes her. I mean, I suppose, they did end it with her saying, but it was real. And she was like, this is the way. So I guess you could say the armor believes her, or is just saying, well, like, sure, but, I do wonder now, since this episode leaves off on her confessing that she's seen a mythosaur, and she's like, but it was real. I'm not saying she has like a dying need to like prove to the Armorer or the other Mandalorians that she did see a mythosaur, because it's not like they made that much of a big deal of it. It's not like everyone knows about it and like, ha 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 ha. But again, this is still furthering the mythosaur plot. So I do wonder if in the next episode, as we follow all of these Mandalorians, because we can't forget, for the first time in the longest time, we're spending a lot of time with a bunch of Mandalorians together. She might be like, hey, how about we go to Mandalore and I can show you that there's a mythosaur there. I could be completely wrong, by the way, but if it did happen to go down that route, they might say, well, since she saw it first, even though other Mandalorians, when they see it too, might think, oh, god damn, I really want to tame that. They might say it's her right to attempt to tame the beast first because she saw it first. And if she can do so, well, obviously, that will give her an insane amount of street cred amongst Mandalorian people. So I think you could probably all agree with me that we're obviously still pursuing that storyline of the mythosaur, but I'd love to hear your ideas and theories as to how they're going to go back to Mandalore. Like, why would they believe Bo, the armorer here, is just kind of saying, well, when you walk this path, you see a lot of things, and it is kind of like the, sure vibe, and it's not like she doesn't believe her, but she believes that she believes it kind of thing. How is it going to get to the point of going back to the planet of Mandalore, let alone taming the mythosaur? Like, how is she going to pull that off? Maybe they entertain the idea of the fact that Mandalore is breathable. Why don't we go back there? Why stay at this covert? But that being said, just because the planet's air is breathable, it doesn't mean it's the healthiest, so would you want to be exposed to that for a long time? But either way, it could be something that is entertained that brings them back there, but I really want to hear ideas. But that is overall the episode. That there isn't like a huge amount to say. It is enjoyable. I'm never going to deny that. Each episode of The Mandalorian, to me, subjectively, I really enjoy it. But I do feel like we need to get a move on into some more interesting areas. And we do have another half of this season to go. So who knows what Favreau and Filoni have got cooked up here. Like, there could be something really impressive. But I do want to stress, I do think we need to get onto it, because it does feel like, all while we're getting entertainment, the main plot is most certainly idling for me. But that's it from me, guys. I hope you enjoyed my review of this episode of The Mandalorian Season 3, Chapter 20, The Foundling. Let me know all of your thoughts, all of your theories down in the comments below. I would greatly appreciate a like on this video. If you're brand new here as well and you've popped back here to a couple of reviews but you're not subscribed yet, do consider subscribing for more Star Wars content like this. But until next time, guys, thank you for watching. I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you fellow Mandalorians in the next video. Goodbye.